For the second problem, we're going to reverse the process we took in the first problem because now we're given the equation of a circle and we have to find the center and the radius of that circle. So let's look at this first circle here. Circle 1, the equation of that circle is x minus 4.9 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals 16. So we want the coordinates of the center. And remember, those letters we use for the center are h, comma, k. Let me write that here, h, comma, k. That's what we call the center. And in our form, or in our equation for the circle, we have x minus h. So here we see x minus 4.9, so h must be 4.9. Now, in that second part, we have y minus k, but here we have y plus 7. And remember, just like in that first problem, the reason we have a plus there is because we were subtracting a negative, which is going to tell us that our k value is actually negative 7. So when they went y minus k or y minus negative 7, they just wrote y plus 7. So we'll get 4.9 and negative 7 for our coordinates there. So what is the radius? Pretty straightforward here. We had an r squared of 16, because remember the right side of the equation is r squared. We want the square root of that, and that is 4. Remember, we're going to take the positive square root of that because we can't have a negative radius. We don't have negative distance. It'll always be positive. Let's jump down to number 2 here. So the center is pretty straightforward here because we have x minus h. We see x minus 11, so 11 must be h. And here we see y minus 5, which comes from y minus k, so 5 must be k. So the center is pretty easy. What is the radius? Here we have 8 on the right side of the equation, so it's not much harder, but it's not going to be a clean integer we get for our radius because we have to take the square root of the right side of the equation to get our radius. So we're going to get the square root of 8, which isn't going to be a clean number, but that's totally okay. All right, down to number 3. Here we have x plus 3 squared plus y squared equals 4/9. So a few new things to look at here. What are the coordinates of the center? So let's look at the h value. We usually see x minus h. Again, we see a plus sign. That tells us that the h value was the negative value. So we're going to have negative 3 for h. Then for the k value, we just see y. We don't see y minus anything. So that means k is just 0 because they didn't write it. And so we can just assume that that is 0. So our center is at negative 3, 0. Now, what is the radius? Same strategy. We have to take the square root of 4/9. Now you'll notice I made it a little easier for you here there with the numbers that I've given you because we want the square root of this value. So the square root of fraction, we can just take the square root of the numerator, which is the top, over the square root of the denominator, which is the bottom. So square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of 9 is 3. Submit that. And again, it looks like we're all good on these questions. So again, try your own numbers. And if you have more questions, feel free always to reach out to me or Mr. Geiselhart, and we can help you more.